right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. It's gonna be a good one today, I think.
I think so too.
We're talking all about giants,
Giants,
specifically the idea that giants built the pyramids.
which is a fascinating idea.
Oh yeah, it's so intriguing, right? Like when you think about those massive structures and how they were built.
It's almost like it seems impossible.
Right,
Mm.
exactly. And so it's easy to see why people would be drawn to this theory that maybe it wasn't humans who built them at all.
Right, like maybe some beings with superhuman strength.
Exactly.
But of course, we're going to be looking at the evidence today.
Yes, using history archaeology
Well, that's
to see if there's any actual truth to this theory.
so yeah. Let's get right into it.
Okay, sounds good.
Um, so I think we should start with maybe the most famous example of a pyramid,
Yeah,
which is the Great Pyramid of Giza.
of course.
So, this pyramid, we know is built during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom of Egypt. That's right around 2580 to 2560 BCE, to put it in perspective.
Okay, so a long time ago.
Quite a while back, yeah.
And we attribute the construction of this pyramid to Pharaoh Khufu.
Exactly. And, to really understand the pyramids, we have to understand the context of the Old Kingdom period in ancient Egypt. These pyramids weren't just, giant tombs.
Right, they meant something more.
Yeah, they were deeply symbolic structures. The ancient Egyptians had complex beliefs about the afterlife, and the pharaoh was considered divine.
Oh, well. I don't
So
know.
the pyramids were designed to be these eternal resting places for the pharaohs, reflecting their vision of the cosmos and ensuring their journey in the afterlife.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's incredible the level of thought and symbolism that went into these structures.
So with that in mind, I think this is where we often see that giant theory pop up.
Yes.
Because, for a long time, people thought the pyramids were built by slaves.
Right. Forced into labor. Which, if you think about it, that would lend itself to the idea that maybe giants were involved, because how could regular humans possibly do that?
Right.
But that's actually a misconception.
Really?
Yeah, when archaeologists started digging deeper and looking at the evidence, they found something totally different.
What did they find?
Well, it turns out the pyramids were actually built by skilled laborers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, these workers were organized into teams.
Oh.
And most importantly, they were paid for their work.
Wow, so not slaves at all.
Not at all. There's evidence that these workers had housing, food, and even medical care.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't this brutal system of slavery that many people imagined. It was a massive, incredibly well-organized workforce with skilled professionals who were valued for their contributions.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does paint a much more accurate picture of how these incredible structures were built.
Okay, so we've got skilled labor, we've got organization.
Right.
But those stones,
Ah, yes, the stones.
they were huge.
Absolutely massive.
How on earth did they move those things?
Right. That's the question that has baffled people for centuries.
Even with a skilled workforce.
Exactly. Even with a skilled workforce, it's still a mind-boggling feat. And this is where the ingenuity of the ancient Egyptians really shines through.
Okay, so tell me how they did it.
Well, researchers believe they used a combination of techniques and tools. We know about ramps, of course.
Right.
Inclined planes to help move the stones upwards.
Makes sense.
But here's a really cool theory.
Okay.
Did you know that researchers think they used wet sand in front of the sleds that carried the stones?
Wet sand.
Yeah, wet sand. It sounds so simple, but it's actually brilliant.
How so?
Well, wet sand reduces friction.
Oh, I see.
So by wetting the sand in front of the sleds, it would have been much easier to pull those massive blocks.
Wow, that's so clever.
Right. And it's not just wet sand. They likely also employed levers, rollers, and counterweights.
So really using their knowledge of physics and engineering.
Exactly. They were masters of mechanics and logistics.
It makes you appreciate just how advanced their civilization was.
It really does.
Okay, so we've debunked the slave labor myth.
Yes.
We've seen how they actually move those massive stones.
With human ingenuity.
Exactly. So why does this idea of giants keep coming up?
Well, I think it's because the idea of giants is so deeply rooted in mythology and folklore across many cultures.
That's true. You see giants in stories all over the world.
Exactly. And in these stories, giants are often portrayed as beings with incredible strength and power, capable of feats that seem impossible for us ordinary humans.
Right, like moving giant stones to build pyramids.
Exactly. And these stories serve a purpose. They can teach us lessons about morality, about the power of nature, about the struggle between good and evil, but they're not meant to be taken as historical fact.
It's important to remember that.
It is. We have to separate the myths from the reality.
Okay, so as we wrap up here, what's the key takeaway you want listeners to remember from this deep dive?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that the giant theory, while it's a fun and intriguing idea, simply isn't supported by the evidence.
Right. We have to go with what the evidence tells us.
Exactly. And the evidence tells us that the pyramids are a testament to human ingenuity, incredible organization, and skill.
Yeah, the ancient Egyptians were able to accomplish something truly remarkable.
And it's that achievement that should inspire awe, not the myths.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a reminder that sometimes reality is far more amazing than any myth.
I completely agree.
So, to our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and always bring that healthy dose of curiosity and critical thinking to everything you learn.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, folks.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.